Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Streaming Our Stories, or SOS podcast, where we use this platform to promote Sella Arts Fest vendors and artists like Valient Vixen Art. Tell us your name and what part of Sella you rep.
Hey everyone, my name is Jessica. I live in Rosemead, but most of my pop-up shows have been LA based. I'm trying to spread my wings to visit different locations.
So what type of art do you make? What is your product or your medium? What do you bring into the world? And I'm going to just pull up the photos that you sent so people can see it while you talk about it.
There's a bit of a different types of mediums that I used. Mainly I do work with inks and fine liners and pens, but sometimes I like to paint as well. And I don't know, it's just really different painting compared to drawing. And then I also create digital work too. I wouldn't say that I'm a digital artist, but I do have to learn, I did learn how to work with digital art just because of the editing. And then some things just look better for me done digitally than if I were to paint it or draw it out.
I feel you in this world of like media and Instagram. It's kind of hard to not have that digital side. Selling right prints, they're a lot more affordable, easier to create. Maybe people can't buy the big pieces, but they can get prints. So I totally understand that digital. Tell me, what's your story, Valient Vixen Art? Where does it come from?
Well, I started doing art when I was a kid, like probably 4 or 5 year old. I got this little like fancy suitcase that had like, to me it was fancy, but I couldn't take it to school. But that was my form of how my parents started, like, supporting me. And then as I got older, like, life hits you like a ton of bricks, traumas, all that stuff. So I stopped drawing and I stopped like doing anything related to art, even though something's always related to art, but I stopped drawing and stuff like that. It wasn't until high school that I started drawing again, like senior year of high school. I started drawing, but I noticed that most of my art was more of like the dark side, like not morbid. There's nothing wrong with morbid, but just a little bit more like dark. Like my inspiration at that time, well, still is Edgar Allan Poe and Tim Burton. So kind of like that, like just really dark and a lot of symbolism and metaphors, and yeah, that was that. So then I was like, okay, so I just started continuing drawing and stuff, and then it was after 2 years I attended college, and I was like, okay, I'll just take a studio class. And then I'm like, okay, I'll take another studio class. So even though my major is not art, I just started taking more studio classes. And then from then on, I started drawing more, experimenting more. So even though my main focus, as I mentioned before, is, pens and inks, I did start incorporating a lot more paintings, charcoals, and stuff like that, just because I don't like getting stuck on one thing. Because sometimes I just don't feel like drawing and I just want to grab a paintbrush and just paint on a canvas. It's just, there's this feeling of just painting on a canvas. I don't know. It's just really different. My current supervisor right now, she wanted me to draw something for her. And like, I would do stuff for other people, like, as a gift, I would give them like, an art piece or something. But she wanted me to draw like a Dia de los Muertos theme for her shirt. So I was like, sure, why not? And she paid me for it. And I posted it online on my personal Instagram, and people started saying like, hey, you should start, like, how much is that? Like, I was like, oh no, this is from my boss and stuff like that. But they're like, you should definitely start selling or la la la. So I don't know, I just started doing more things and stuff. And then I started posting more on my personal one. And one of my friends was the one that said, hey, I live in Paramount and there's this event that's called Sella. They're actually asking for vendors. And so I just started making more art. I started making my own business art page, Valient Vixen Art. And from then on, I just started creating. And it was crazy because like I started getting all this creativity, and I just started doing a bunch of different art pieces, both like drawing and like also digitally done. So it was just crazy. Like I don't know, it was a really good experience. My main style would say that it's pointillism, and you can tell that like on, I don't know if I think I put it on one of the pictures, the heart one. So basically, I was going through, sorry, suffer from anxiety. So art is my muse, art is my therapy. But yeah, I was going through a really tough time. I felt like time was going too fast. So I felt like I was like the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Hence, like that's how I felt. So I felt trapped in a sense. So I kind of wanted to incorporate that in that art piece. But then like for me, hearts symbolize, like anatomical hearts symbolize life. Like it's pumping blood and stuff, and there's just so much going on with it. Like, heart you feel, heart gives you life and all this stuff. So I wanted to put like a bit of hope in there that it's not the end of stuff. In that moment, it did feel like it, but it wasn't. So yeah, that's how I feel like I convey a lot of emotion in my art. But yeah, the majority mainly is pointillism. It's like surrealism, pointillism. So it's crazy because when people see my booth at an art, like, an art show, they're like, "Is this your art?" But it's because there's a mixture of like the bubbly side and the dark side. There'll be color on one end, and then there'll be like just black and white or gray tones on
So
the
it
other.
almost looks like you're selling art from two different artists and stuff, and people don't
Exactly.
know.
It's just my personality, though.
I feel
Like,
you. I mean, yeah, you're like a full range, and like you said, you like that dark. I mean, some people call it dark. I would call it more like real, like the reality of like, or like the more pessimistic side of life, right? Is like
yeah,
then it's all about balance. Like you can't have one without the other, and the contrast and all that. A few things that I want to
exactly.
tease out though and point out. So Sela was your first event to vend at.
To ever vend at, yeah, and then from then on, I just started doing different events like locally.
So that's super cool because I actually talked to Citlali yesterday, who's like the organizer, and one of her main goals of Sela is to like start people off, and make it accessible for folks who are not a business yet or are trying to like spread their wings, like you said. And so I think she's gonna find it, or I mean, she probably already knows that it was your first event, but I think that's cool that like, she's get like you're the culmination of her mission, to give people that
Yeah,
platform. And also, you kind of brushed over it. We have a couple more minutes, and I just don't want to be too cliche, but you did talk about trauma and having to deal with overcoming challenges and obstacles, and like is your art like a release for that? Is there some kind of therapy in that, or is that like too cliche? Is it more just about expression and your personality and your perspective and all that?
I feel like a little bit of both. Like it won't. I don't think it heals trauma completely, just because like your mind can be a very dangerous place, especially like in your darkest times. But I feel like that my art has been therapeutic for me, and like being able to connect with other people. It's so sad because people connect with my art sometimes, and I'm happy about it, but then I get sad at the same time because everyone's going through something, but it's just so sad when they talk about their story. And so I feel like, grateful that I have this platform to like share my stories, but make connections with other people because it's like, you don't have to say anything. Somebody can just pass by and they can just connect with the piece of art that you have. And that's just so empowering. I think that, through just visuals, you can make an impact. And I think that's what art is, you make people feel, you want to convey your emotions and stuff. Some people like art and some people just don't like that kind of art. That's okay. Like, it's like, the shoe doesn't fit for everybody and that's totally fine.
No, yeah, I totally agree. The transformative power of art and how art can transform people, places, things, just by adding art to a room, it changes the room, or just, by having people being able to walk and experience art and interact with it can change their day, can change their mood. So, yeah, you hit it right on the head. That's what art is about. It's about transformation. It's about, beauty, and also seeing the beauty in the darker sides, of life.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so, yeah, I think, like you said, your whole spectrum, people will see, think it's like odd, but it's just you're expressing the full reality of what it is to be an artist, and it's a beautiful thing. Thank you for your time. We're pretty much wrapped up right here. If you want to just shout out your Instagram, I'm going to make sure to put it in the description. But if you want to tell people, where they can support you or where they can find your stuff, yeah, you have a couple more minutes. Go for it.
Okay. You guys can follow me at Valient Vixen Art, or hashtag Valient Vixen Art, VALIANT VIXENART. So I currently don't. I'm still working on my shop right now, but if you want something that you see on my page, feel free to message me. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you all next time, and keep tuning in to the Streaming Our Stories podcast, where we're bringing you everything Sella Arts Fest. And thank you again, Valiant Vixen Art, and have a
Thank
good day.
you.